On this episode of Movies Ruin My Life, East and I drop tons of useless facts about boxing while Nick and Devon try their best to keep the show on the tracks. Today we're starting the conversation on Rocky. Alright, so this is East, this is Nick,
Howdy.
this is Devon.
Hey.
I'm Brandon. I'm Rocky.
You're not Rocky.
Rocky's not here.
Paulie is, though. He's coming up the stairs.
No class.
He's coming up the stairs to sell you meat and ask to put something on the back of your shirt.
Yeah. Okay, so this one, there's a lot of films, and I kind of want to do it chronologically as they intersect, if you will. Is that something? Is everyone cool with that? Because, like, for example, 1 and 2 run parallel chronologically. They're very close to each other. Starts off with him in the hospital in 2 and so forth, right? And then 3 to 4 are close again. They happen back to back again. And then we'll worry about figuring out the rest of them as we get to them. This is a franchise that has. Well, first of all, it's the only Best Picture winner, or rather, out of all the Best Picture winners at the Oscars, which won in '77, right?
Uh-huh.
I was thinking
First
'76, but it's '76 was one flew over the cuckoo's nest, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm out of breath. I just ran up the stairs.
Did you do the...
Yeah. I didn't do the arms up.
We'll get your statue. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, because it's had more sequels than any other Oscar winner for Best Picture, which is really cool, and it shows the nature of how special these films are, and much of it is because of the relationships of the characters more so than the story. It's not just a boxing movie, and that's why it touches so many people. Like, my early memories of this movie, like the first time that I saw Rocky, I saw it with my mom, who does not like boxing. Like, I'm a boxing fan subsequently, but going into this film, my mom very much latched on to the love story, as did my grandma, my cousin, all the people that I watched films with as a child. And it's so interesting that this movie is so transcendental. It's almost like a hybrid of a romance novel and a sports film and, you know, an action film on some level, and a serious drama on top of everything else. Really interesting. I usually don't like to do this. I don't like to break the ice with personal stories, but I am curious. You know, like, Nick, you're Italian, so I pretty much don't even have to ask you how you got into Rocky. But I am curious how you guys all got into Rocky, what your first exposure was, and your subsequent reaction.
Mine's kind of weird. I usually watch Rocky around Christmas time.
Really?
Yeah, it's like we didn't get Christmas movies. We got Rocky movies. But no, it's always weird. Like, I always find myself watching the whole set around Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's like 1 week I'll watch the first and then go into the second and then go into the third. It's just pretty much it. But I just remember the first time I did watch it, it wasn't a VHS, it wasn't a DVD. It was actually on, do you remember TBS, the Superstation?
Yeah,
That's where I used to watch it on. Like, I had the commercials in between.
Yeah, and they used to marathon the whole series.
I remember being at my grandparents' house and we're just watching it. And, like, even my grandfather would just get into it. Like, get him. Like, he thought it was like, it goes back to the whole Eddie Murphy thing. Like, Italians think this shit's real, and it's not a joke. We legitimately, at one point, you're like, this shit's real.
Yeah. And he is kind of a hero of Philadelphia in a lot of ways. And that's another thing that can be really latched onto in this the series.
Sure there's a sign in Philadelphia. It's like, Philadelphia Eagles, Rocky.
Yeah, exactly.
Population.
No, it's so true, and it's so interesting because it's an underdog story, and it's a story about, you know, facing adversity and making your way in the world. You know, it's something that no matter where you're from, you can attach yourself to it. But I can't think of a film that could more or does more represent a city and kind of the way it's perceived than Rocky and the Rocky series. Mm-hmm. You know, East, what's your deal? How did you get into Rocky?
Well, again, that was one of those movies where it was up in my cottage. I had
1, 2, and 3 on a beta tape, and then I had 4 was actually a purchased beta with the actual box, and then 5 you never spoke about, and 6 I saw in theater the first day it came out because I had to,
Yeah.
because 6 is a great movie.
Oh, them and every one of them I get goosebumps watching. Every one of them.
5 I have a hard time watching just because that is the closest to like a real boxing story as you get, in the sense of a person who has.
Well, he is like Tommy Morrison was a real boxer. He passed away a few years ago, right? So, and there was that whole thing. I don't really want to. We're getting way off topic here if I do this, but there was a whole thing where he was like I remember, and I was a kid, so I remember he won the vacant was it WBC belt?
Yeah.
And then he subsequently lost it, but and he had a fight scheduled with Lennox Lewis to unify the belts. And I think he did fight Lewis. He got knocked out, and I remember that he didn't fight after that as a kid, and I didn't understand at the time. But like I've looked into it since, and obviously he tested positive for HIV, which is really, really sad. Mm-hmm. And there's some kind of gray area on whether he actually did or didn't. I don't want to go into it too much because I know that, or I don't know the story. So, but he's the first boxer to be prominently featured. Like obviously, Rocky's trainer in the first one, in the third, the lightweight that he's fighting. These are real boxers, and these are notable boxers. And obviously, in Balboa, again, a champion. Mm-hmm. He's legitimately fighting a champ. Mm-hmm. And I believe in Creed, they're doing the same thing where Adonis will face a real boxer. His opponent will be an actually trained, legit boxer, which is really cool. And turn your fucking phone off, East. But yeah, like five, you're right. It does, as much as it may be not the best film, and I think it did get caught in that transition of 80s to 90s films in the early part of the 90s where you were getting all this new technology and they didn't exactly know how to exploit it. Mm-hmm. So there is a little bit of a loss there.
But I'm also just talking like the character arc of how you have rags to riches, and then like a lot of boxers, right back down into rags, and that's a very real tragic story. Like look at George Chuvalo, Canadian boxing champion in the golden age of boxing, and
great fighter.
Yeah, both of his sons died of a heroin, and
he
his
also
wife
had a
killed
mean
himself.
left hook, didn't he?
He
Which
did
so did Tommy Gunn. So did Tommy Morrison in real life. That was his go-to punch. It was that left hook. It was fucking crazy.
Such a hard punch that Muhammad Ali said the hardest 2 hits he ever got were hit was George Chuvalo and not Foreman.
Frazier?
Smoking Joe Frazier.
Yeah. And Joe Frazier is in Rocky 1. He's the only fucking boxer that showed up. They invited like a ton of championship boxers for that scene, and he was the only one that showed up. And they're like, okay, well, this is cool because you're actually from Philly, so this is sweet. It makes sense that you're here. Of all the guys we could have show up, sweet. This is awesome.
Foreman didn't want to show because he was too busy making his little portable barbecue. They're in the development process at that point.
Don't knock the George Foreman grill. I got one of those downstairs. It's amazing.
On Rags to Riches to Rags, you've also got the. Have you ever seen those photos of the abandoned Tyson estate? Like big urban exploring kind of a destination for a lot of people. Just this opulent estate with like tiger cages.
Another kind of
and another weird tie-in with the Rocky franchises, of course, that Tommy Morrison was represented by the same people as Mike Tyson, and before he was whether it was a false positive or a legitimate positive result for HIV, there was serious talks about a potential Morrison Tyson fight.
And Don King just would have been like, "We need to make that happen."
Yeah, and that's why, like any of these conspiracy theorists or whatnot that you see on the internet, it doesn't make any sense because that would have been a huge Tommy Gunn,
leaving that film alone, and
Tyson
and the monster.
Subjects.
Yeah, and he had an amazing Tommy Morrison had an amazing professional record, like 42-3 or something.
And he had the reach too. It would have been like a very Lennox Lewis Tyson fight.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, we haven't talked about these movies at all. We've been talking about actual boxing, which is so cool, you know.
I come from a place where me, my brother, and my sister are all really big nerds. Never really into sports very much at all.
Yeah.
Let alone the combat sports. I mean, I've always kind of shied away. I don't know. Not really a huge fan of boxing. Didn't really grow up with wrestling like a lot of children of the 80s did. But that kind of it prevented me from really even looking into these movies. I had never really considered it. And then I think probably TBS. As well.
Yeah.
I think Rocky IV
Who hasn't marathon
is probably one of those TBS back-to-back things they used to do.
Yeah.
Rocky IV, followed by Rocky IV again.
Followed by half an hour of commercials. Then Rocky V.
But
and then Rocky V again.
Rocky IV was the first one I saw, and it really because the whole it's just a much more obvious good versus evil triumph over this whole Soviet Union.
That movie single-handedly ended the Cold War.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can change and I can change, everyone can change.
But that was my first experience with the series, and then I kind of started over. So that's my
which is so interesting. Like, how does that play, Rocky IV? Before we get into the movies individually, how does that play without the relationship that is built in 3 with Apollo? Like the true friendship that happens, the friendship arc in 3. How does that play for you? Because it's like, oh, a random boxer died. Now Rocky's got to come to his aid. Or rather,
I mean, they kind
him.
of establish it.
Well, you establish it in the first 2. It's like a fighter's respect almost.
It's a lot easier
to see it. Yeah, but he
hasn't
hasn't seen those. He's saying that he started with 4, so it's interesting.
It's a lot easier to see it as like a pretty funny scene, I guess. You don't really feel
James
anything for
Brown
this guy. He comes out to living in America. Yeah, nope, you're gonna die.
The most American thing. He's riding a bull down to the ring.
So, were you disappointed when you realized that Rocky wasn't going to have a beard in the earlier movies?
And he wasn't going to lift logs.
He wasn't going to carry logs in the snow. No,
on the mountain.
I mean, I think it's he had to get extreme, right?
There's no easy way out.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think it's for. I mean, despite there already being so much character development and story development at that point, it's you can tell that this is a case where he's really going to have to take it to the next level because he's basically fighting a 9-foot-tall robot with like a
Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, man. He doesn't feel pain unless somebody puts a needle in his leg.
All right, let's get into this, gentlemen. So the 1976 classic, Rocky, made for $1.1 million.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, turned around and grossed $225 million.
Wow.
Yeah, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.1 on IMDb. This film, there's a couple of cool stories. Now, first of all, I got to turn this over because I got to look at numbers. Still had $106 in the bank when he sold the script for this film. He had $106 in the bank. He didn't have a car, and he was trying to sell his dog. It was Buckus in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Because he couldn't feed the fucking dog. He's got this giant mastiff, and he just can't feed the thing. And when he sold it under the pretense that essentially, I'll give you the rights to it, but I got to be the star. And you wrote the script in 3 days. The original version of the script, you wrote it in 3 days.
In crayon.
Yeah.
That's the best way to look at it.
And he sells this thing, and so the producers take it to United Artists, and they go, okay, United Artists likes the concept. They go, okay, I'll give you $2 million. And then they go, well, we made this deal with the writer that he's got to be the star. And they go, okay, we'll give you $1 million. They cut it in half immediately.
Yeah.
And they say, if you go over budget, you got to come up with it. So both producers end up remortgaging their house to come up with the extra $100,000 they need to finish this fucking movie. Really, and it turns out to then be the highest grossing film of 1976.
That's like a leap of faith on
and is that,
every one.
Is that any kind of a record in terms of just like money gross to money in? I can't think of any example that comes anywhere close to like a 225 times return.
The biggest, actually highest grossing independent was My Big Fat Greek Wedding with highest return on that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Sounds right. I don't have the statistics in front
Rita
of me.
Wilson, man, she'll fucking get you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the 74th highest grossing film ever in North America, adjusted for inflation. 455th if you don't adjust, which is really interesting. It's this movie has so many amazing stories. Obviously, everyone knows the iconic ice rink scene now. But they hired, or they wanted like 300 extras for that, and only one showed up. So they're just like, okay, you're the Zamboni driver. And they rewrite it on the spot. And you're the Zamboni driver and the place is closed and whatever. And obviously, like we were talking about the Joe Frazier thing off air. He was the only guy that showed up for the the actual fight sequence. The other thing that sticks out to me is a really cool little thing, and I didn't write it down. There's an interview that I was watching on YouTube with, and I know it's from the added the bonus features of one of the films, but I'm assuming one. The scene where Paulie comes home drunk and like stumbles over the fence and like knocks over the garbage can and shit. He was doing that scene. They were shooting the scene, and an actual drunk guy stumbled onto the set and he's like, "That's not you act drunk." And so he's like, "Okay, well, show me." And then he just mimicked that fucking guy, and they reshot the whole scene like him just pretending to be this fucking guy.
They probably bought that guy like, okay, here you go. Here's all the alcohol you need.
Yeah, exactly. Go to town. Show us how to do this, champ.
That drunk guy's probably like, I could have made so much money off of this.
Yeah, well, it's
Stunt
so
double
cool.
for Paulie.
Yeah.
And actually, his entire body of acting directions for Paulie was just slamming a Mickey in like 2 seconds.
But that's what, like, that's just one of the things that I find is just so beautiful about the first Rocky is that in every way, shape, or form, it was the little engine that could.
Yeah, like the whole movie filmed in 28 days.
Yeah. It's filmed in 28 days. The script, when they give it a budget, like, oh, you want to star in it? We'll fucking cut it in half. You know what I mean? That was a shot. When they did that painting of him hanging over the ring.
Yeah, they fucked up the trunks,
they get the short colors wrong, and then immediately they're like, "How are we going to fix this in the script?" Very similar to the ice rink. It was, "Hey, you got the things wrong. You got my colors wrong," and it was like, "Well, Rock, shit. No one expects you to do anything anyway, and nobody expected anything of this movie to really happen."
That's the same thing with the actual like the what's it called, like the gown. I can't think of the word.
The
robe.
robe.
Yeah.
There we go. The gown. And boxers wear their gown to the ring. Yeah, the robe is too big, so there's that great line. It's just like, it's too big, like in the movie. It's so cool.
They like ad-libbed pretty much the entire film.
Yeah, it's so, and even that fight scene at the end, it just looks so sterile. So they're like, Rock, go home, like Sly, go home and just write the fight. Just write the fight, and then they just practiced it for 40 hours almost. Just like practicing the fucking punches that Sylvester Stallone wrote down on a page.
I'm gonna go. Okay, Carl. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go left. You're gonna go right. You're gonna break my nose, and then I'm gonna go back to my post and bitch about it.
Yeah, the nose breaking is cool. I was reading last night or this morning at like 4 a.m. That ironically in the first film, Carl Weathers busted up his nose and Sly bruised his ribs, like the opposite injuries that the actual actors have in the film.
That's great.
Yeah, it's so fucked up. This film is amazing. It's like number 57.
One of the greatest films of all time.
On AFI's
An Oscar-winning film as well.
Yeah.
Stallone wrote the screenplay for it. He won the Oscar for writing the screenplay.
Yeah, so it's
Just that, there's my favorite out of the first is that, like, I remember I was listening to the commentary, and it's the part where he's running on the street, but there's just one open shot where he finally starts picking up pace.
Mm-hmm.
The guys in the van were like, "Yeah, we lost them." Like, he just completely bolted, and you see him just running straight through, and then the car can't catch up. Like they're in like this busted ass van, and they can't catch him.
Yeah,
and it's like cut to the next shot.
And it's so interesting too because they didn't have permits for any of that.
Yeah, they just...
So like when he's running down the street and people are like, "Hey," and they have no fucking idea what's going on. Like in the context of the movie, you think like, "Oh wow, they're all cheering on Rocky." Those aren't extras. Those are just people. Those are street vendors. Like the guy throws him the orange. We were talking about this off air. That guy was just being nice. He's like, "Hey, this guy's running in front of a camera. Here, have an orange." He didn't know he was going to be immortalized forever in film.
It's like it almost started guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. And even we were talking about too the Steadicam thing. Yeah, like that footage is essentially the director saw that like the test footage for selling the Steadicam, which is the film the inventor of the Steadicam. His name has escaped my mind. I can't. I'm sorry, but in any case, he filmed his girlfriend running up and down those same steps. And Albertson's just like, that's awesome. Just do that. Just do the same thing. Just film fucking Sly doing that.
And then we just cut to like a shot of the city and him with the iconic arms up and like, boom, we got a movie poster right there.
Yeah. And the other movie poster is them holding hands, right? Adrian and Rocky. Yeah. And that one's not in the movie. They cut it. They reshot the ending.
And then, of course, there's the re-release of him standing in the ring looking up.
Yeah.
Where they probably got more money. It's like, okay, we'll just redo this poster for the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one. I'm not going to lie to you. I like it being a love story, and I think it plays a lot better even for a younger audience. Definitely this was a conduit for me into boxing and becoming a boxing fan, but I love the relationship between Rocky and Adrian, and just the fact that Rocky is just good. He's a little slow, maybe, or maybe not. He's just a different kind of intelligent. He's just emotionally intelligent, as we call it today. Yeah. And it's really beautiful to see how he interacts with everyone, even the loan shark, Garza.
Garza, yeah.
He's just giving him money like everyone else. He's telling him to break his fucking thumbs, and it's just like, "Here, Rock, was it $300 or $500?" He gives him to train, $500 to train, which is a lot of money in '79. That's more money than Sly had in the fucking bank when they shot the fucking film.
And then tells him to go. He's like, tells him to go get it. You know what I mean? Even the loan shark is just like, Rock, you deserve better.
Yeah, you're a good guy, and he's like, "Here's some money to take your girl on a date."
It's like you don't beat the crap. Like, you know what? You give these guys a chance. Like you're supposed to break their thumbs, but you give them a little. You have a heart, so you're not going to break their thumbs off the first.
Well, that actor, by the way. That the scene with the puffer, right? The inhaler. That actor was having an asthma attack when they were shooting that.
Really?
And he just like broke it out. It was just like, fuck. and again, Albertson like left it in.
You could probably see the directors.
It's like a human element.
It's very humane, and that's what I find is really great with one, especially is 1 and 6 have a lot of similarities in the fact that. In 1, you have Stallone building his career
and building his relationship with Adrian.
Yes, you have Rocky and all that, building his relationship and stuff like that. And then, from a production standpoint, you have a guy putting all of his money into making his career with this movie. And then with 6, you have Stallone is pretty much almost bankrupt. Balboa was supposed to be his swan song from Hollywood, and was only made with $24 million, which pretty much, if you count inflation, is pretty much $1 million like the first one was.
Yeah.
Not a lot of money. And then a lot of that heart that first one was made with. And the whole franchise really went full circle.
Yeah.
You can honestly say, like, the film mirrors the way they filmed it. It's like it's 1,000,000 to 1 shot. It's either this is going to do good or this is going to tank.
Yeah.
It's almost how Rocky is. It's you got one chance, do it.
Yeah.
And win.
No, it's a beautiful story because you fall in love with the character of Rocky.
He's innocent.
Yeah, and he sees the good in people. He's almost got this childlike awe about him. He gives the guy that he's supposed to break his thumbs a chance. He sees the whole exchange with him and Adrian about how
he's very shy
I knew
too.
you were the best girl in Philadelphia and. Just the way he loves animals. There's just so many things to love about this character. He's just kind and pure, and he sees the best in people. So even as Mickey's saying, like, well, I never took you seriously because you fuck around with this loan shark, he's making a living, It's called wasting your life or whatever the line is. I really probably should have rewatched number 1 before we did this.
Yeah.
But like, there's so many great moments.
No matter
all the tension between other characters, dissolves because Rocky is so pure and good. And so the priest is amazing.
Like before going to a fight, he's like, "Hey, Father, I got to fight tonight." He's like trying to explain to him. He's like, "I got to fight. Is there anything you can do for me? Like, give me a prayer. Like, I want to win."
Yeah.
And he does the whole thing out the window. I love when he does that.
I want to talk about punching the meat because that's become super iconic. Beating the meat.
Phrasing.
Yeah. Iconic meat beating. In any case, Sly actually, he punched that meat so much. He punched the. Stop laughing at me.
Go on.
Yeah, please continue.
Wait, was this in his softcore career before?
So did you fucking come or what?
Yeah. Okay, he punched it so much that he actually flattened out his knuckles, and even to today, like if he closes his fist up, it's just flat.
It's a mitt.
Yeah, he's got essentially a mitt, as a result of just like the hours spent beating the shit out of an animal corpse, essentially. And it's such an iconic moment in cinema, though. Like if you just said to a layman who's not a boxing fan, and I don't mean layman in like just in all regards, but a layman to boxing, that's what they think of. They think of Rocky. They think of the punching the meat, and even in number 4, like the logs, jumping in the snow, and they think of the speed bag scenes where he's like shitty and then he gets better and all of this stuff, And they also think of that to the body from Mickey, It's so interesting. All these things have become part of the collective consciousness, And really, in all seriousness, in a time when boxing kind of needed it.
Yeah.
It was that gray area, wasn't it?
Yeah, like it was similar to pre-Tyson in the 90s.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, like because obviously the original script was kind of devised out of an Ali fight. I can't remember which fight. But yeah, like literally, it was the same kind of thing where he was a good fighter, who he was facing, but he was kind of just like it was essentially a setup for Ali to pad his stats,
Yeah.
And it was a really good fight, and he took him right to the last round, and eventually Ali knocked him out in the last round. I can't remember who the hell it is, which is embarrassing because of the amount of like ESPN classics that probably you and I both watch. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what fight you're talking about. Yeah. I just do not remember.
Well, I watched it because of Rocky.
Yeah.
It's not that good of a fight, in all seriousness. It's just Ali pounding on this fucking guy for 15 rounds.
I'm pretty sure it was it 1 or 2 after Rumble in the Jungle?
Yeah, I think it's 2 after.
Yeah, because Foreman after that stopped fighting, so he was out. Ali's fucking old as shit.
Frazier and him were on the outs at that point too, right?
Frazier wasn't boxing at that point.
Yeah, but even like on a personal level, they were on the outs.
Yeah.
We've digressed back to boxing, so let's get back on track. Adrian, Talia Shire.
Oh,
incredible.
God.
Yeah, this woman, in this span of her career, 3 years in a row, she's in the film that wins Best Picture at the Oscars. Now, I understand a lot of people say, well, 2 of them are brother made, but like, fuck you. She's still in Godfather 1 and 2, wins Best Picture, and Rocky, Best Picture again. There's something magical about this woman in this era and her energy. Like, again, and she's fucking sick for half of this film. Like, she's in real life, she's sick, and she's a talented enough actress that they end up using a lot of that to build her character around, which is so cool.
It's fragile.
Yeah.
Angel.
Yeah, exactly. It's really...
It's like if anything was going to show off her acting chops, it was Rocky.
Yeah.
You don't really get that much when you watch The Godfather and you see her in it. You don't really get her her full scale in The Godfather.
Yeah.
You just get this whiny little sister of like Michael Corleone, but in Rocky you see her see her progression go from film to film, and it's incredible.
She totally she made it a lot better in the Rocky films in terms of her choice in men, though. Than in the Godfather films. Like when Santino goes after fucking that piece of shit in the first one, I was like cheering along.
Carlo gets his end at the very end.
Yeah,
okay?
both Sonny and
it's a cold
and
hearted
Michael
way too.
Take care of that shit. And then you see her in 3, whether you think it's a great film or not, you see that character arc come around where she's almost the peripheral head of the family, which is really, really interesting to see her take on that role. And it does show the body of work that both she was in this era and that she's capable of now. You know, she had a small role in I Heart Huckabees, right? Or am I just making that up?
Yeah, it was it even credited?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was, but it was one of those like really small, you almost on credit. But I think like the funny thing is, I think
I was like, holy shit, that's Adrian.
Her best, I think her best acting that you see out of Adrian, funny enough, is in. I was gonna say 5.
Oh, I was gonna say 3.
I was gonna say 5.
Oh, 3.
5.
She's on the beach.
Oh, just belittling the shit out of him.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's 3 is great for that, but 5 is because she is trying to save a broken marriage.
And the relationship between a father and a son.
Yeah, but she sees that she's trying to save her marriage. 2, Rocky is totally neglecting his own son for this other fucking kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not to mention he's totally punch drunk, taking everything for granted, and she's literally keeping it all together.
Yeah.
And that...
Yeah, but then again, you go to like, okay, look at 3. Or not better yet, you look at the beginning of 3 and go back to like 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like Adrian is this nice, well-kept girl from like the bad side of town in Philly.
Yeah.
Gets all this money. And then watch the beginning of 3. She's all happy.
But she's
wearing
never
the best of things. But it's just like...
But I don't think she changes from 2, where she's apprehensive about all of Rocky's
Yeah, but come 3, though, she's all about the high fashion style and whatnot, because like my husband makes good money, this and that.
Yeah, but I don't... but even
she
at
gets
that,
grounded towards the
I
end.
feel as though that's more indicative of her child being in the picture now, and I can sympathize with that, because you know I talk about my mom all the time. I'm the only child of a single mom. I never went without, and like she's got the same jeans that I had when I was 4 years old, and she's still like wearing now and stuff like that. So I understand, you know, Adrian being more willing to spend with a child in the picture, because it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. You want that child to have every opportunity in life.
But you know what? You see her progression by the end of 3, that her and Rocky are on the same path. It's like, we got comfortable, you got beat, let's pick ourselves back up, and she tries to snap him out of it, and that's like a testament to her acting.
Back
like
to
she
the pet
snaps
shop,
him.
back to
and that's what I'm saying. Like that's where you really see Adrian really trying to keep this family together, and that's what's.
I don't know. I still love that. You know, when did you get so tough? I live with a fighter. Like that fucking moment on the beach is just, and 3 is just so fucking good, man.
Probably in my mind, it's pretty much the only. I'm not a huge fan of 3.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that.
Oh, I can't wait.
Let's talk about Apollo.
Oh yeah.
Apollo's the man. Now, when Carl Weathers came in for his screen test, and again, this is not information I had until this morning, so you know, I don't want to pretend that I did. I read this on ye old internet just the same way as, you know, the dollar figure thing from earlier. Carl Weathers straight up punched Sly in the face in the read through. Punched him in the face, and you know, Sylvester Stallone's just like, you gotta calm down. This, you know, it's just a screen test, whatever, right? And Carl Weathers is like, well, if you had me test with real actors, then maybe, you know, I'd come at it a little different. And then Alvinson gets involved again and starts laughing and kind of goes, he's playing Rocky, and Carl Weathers just looks at him and goes, well, maybe you'll get better. And right then, and this just shows the humility of Sylvester Stallone and wanting to surround himself with great people, he turns to John Alvinson and he goes, we need this guy. And they give him the job in the fucking room.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't? It's a good way to get it. Like, if I can get a job by punching my boss in the face, I would do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gonna change around my interview strategy.
It's the same. That was the same with Margaret Robbie on
Suicide Squad?
No.
The door's open. So here's another train in this episode. Email me. Trains at moviesfrommylife.com.
On Wolf of Wall Street, she smacked Leo in the face and then got the job.
Yeah. But then again, you need that intent. Like, for Carl Weathers' purpose-wise, you need that antagonist. Like, especially, you need that cocky, top shot boxer, and that's what he showed in that interview.
Well, they tested a lot of actual boxers for that first film as well. And the problem was because they wanted Rocky to be a heavyweight contender. And this is the problem and in reality, a lot of the the marquee heavyweights are considerably heavier. Like they sit at the top of that division in terms of weight. But at the time, of course, like the heavyweight bout, it's not like today where, for example, you have like a Mayweather or a Pacquiao. Like those divisions, you know, are and like the speed and the technique is respected a lot more. In those days, everything was about the heavyweight championship. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they wanted him to be a heavyweight, and that's why they started looking at actors. And you know, Carl Weathers, in a sense, is, you know, he's Ali. He's Ali. You know, he's that flamboyant guy that everyone loves.
Right
and
in the mouth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and also again, obviously the name Apollo, like being a Greek god, he's just this specimen.
Just look at the way he goes to the ring in the first one.
Yeah,
he's Uncle Sam coming down with the nifty shorts. He's even got the top hat on. But come two, he's taking it because he's not taking him seriously in one. He doesn't take Rocky seriously at all.
But then at the beginning of two, Rocky comes to his hospital bed and says, "Yo, Apollo, just tell me one thing. Did you give me your best?" And Carl Weathers was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, but watch how he comes. Watch how Apollo comes to the ring in two.
Yeah.
Focused, ready to go.
Yeah, but it's so interesting too because Duke is warning the whole first movie about
he's a
Rocky's.
Southpaw. He will clip you.
Yeah, because and that's one thing that's interesting is that. Like in the film, and they didn't do a lot of boxing technique stuff, but like for example, like obviously the nullifier for a southpaw is a good straight right, which if he was actually training for the fight, you would see him just exercising that beautiful like straight right, which actually, you know, Carl Weathers does have, which you see in 3, or no, he does the overhand right in the painting at the end, but yeah, like really cool. Also the southpaw thing. Does that bother anyone else that he just completely? I know he's stupid. Like he's not stupid. Rocky is not stupid, but I know he's not a smart man. You know, the southpaw thing that he tells Adrian, is it supposed to be a lie? Because we're both lefties. Both myself and East are lefties, and that's completely fucking wrong. Like the term southpaw is a baseball term. It has nothing to do with boxing.
So what's your question?
No, well, just like when he explains it to Adrian, he talks. He's like, you know, southpaws. I forget how he explains it, but it's something to do with like when you know. He explains it in boxing terms. When you have your arm hung, it's, you know, like pointing to the south or something, which is not the case. It's because of baseball stadiums. Like when you're pitching, in the 1800s, they were all, when you were pitching, you're facing west, so your left hand would be on the south side, you know. And that's the southpaw. And the thing is, like, that term was adopted. It's mostly associated with boxing, like obviously the Jake Gyllenhaal film that just came out.
Southpaw.
Yeah. But you know, it's not a boxing term. And you know, no one gives a shit, but being left-handed, I was like, is that right? And I looked it up. Like even as a kid, you know, I was curious, and now that we have the internet, I can look that stuff up, and it's inaccurate. It doesn't take away from the film. I wonder if it almost adds an element of humanity and like humility to the character. That he doesn't care about being wrong. Like he says a lot of things incorrectly that are charming.
Like an old school terminology, like sometimes, like, you know, with sports how they progress, like there's old terms that aren't used anymore.
But they borrow that from baseball. Like that's the origin of southpaw. That's it. That's where it's from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's probably just doing it because he's
trying to flirt with Adrian.
Yeah, and Adrian didn't talk to him really. He didn't talk to him until you put skates on her.
Yeah,
you know. So I think he was literally just kind of doing anything, being like, you know where the term southpaw comes from? Like, it's just, he's just trying to go on a date with this girl that won't give him the fucking time of day.
Yeah. Want to see my turtles?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Give him a little turtle food.
Yeah. And the fact that he goes into the pet store every day to get turtle food, he doesn't eat turtle food, you know, every fucking day, but he just wants to see Adrian. So again, it's just so beautiful, like this.
It's like this big hulking man who can have any woman he wanted realistically, but he chooses Adrian.
Yeah.
It's a sports movie, but it's got a heart.
Yeah, and I like how they're both more mature, and you know that you know they're both 30 and they're finding love at that age, which I guess is weird in the 70s. It's not so weird nowadays. You know, pairing off a little bit later. Where are we here? I had a thought while you were talking, Nick, and I can't remember. Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about Burgess Meredith.
Oh, don't even get me started on Burgess Meredith.
Yeah,
incredible.
This guy, even in syndication, the '60s Batman. We all grew up with him on that. Some of the best Twilight Zone episodes. That's how I always saw him growing up, and I didn't associate Mickey and those characters. Like I never thought of like Mickey and the Penguin, as being the same guy. Right?
Well, it's kind of the reverse for me because I'm a little bit younger, so I always see Burgess Meredith as Mickey, and then I go back and see '60s Batman and see him as the Penguin. It's like,
yeah, holy shit, Mickey!
Wow.
Mickey is pretty mean with an umbrella.
where was that when he was training Rocky?
Yeah, that could have come in handy.
Like, fuck the chicken, man. Just hit him with the umbrella a couple times.
Could you imagine that? He's at the side with the umbrella squirting water in his face.
You gotta get him. You gotta punch the water drop truck.
No, yeah, he's such an amazing talent. And that scene with him and Rock in Rocky's apartment, where Rocky like locks himself in the bathroom, and Mickey's like, you got to let me be your management.
Begs him.
Yeah, and then he kind of comes out briefly, and Mickey's still in the apartment, so he goes back into the bathroom, and then Mickey leaves, and Rocky's just screaming at the top of his lungs, which is all ad-libbed, and just like telling him off, and then just the 2 seconds later he runs out and hops the railing and goes down and puts his arm over his shoulder, and that's such a great moment because again you see the goodness in Rocky, and and also because Mickey stepped away and was willing to kind of walk away and be like, it's all right. I should have followed this kid through. I knew he could have been a good boxer, and I chose not to help him because he made bad decisions with his life. He realized that and walked away. And I think that also humanizes Mickey in the sense that like you don't question his intentions anymore. You know that he's got the best intentions for Rocky. It goes without saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's like, Mickey knows this is a picked fight for a fighter, and this guy's going to get beat. Like, he's going to get his ass kicked if he's not trained properly.
Yeah.
So he steps in, almost like a father figure in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, let me train you, let me help you, let me show you. Because he knows he's not, because Rocky thinks it's just a fair, straight up fight.
Yeah.
He's not, he's oblivious to the fact that he's.
Well, he thinks when he first goes into that meeting, he thinks that he's a sparring partner for Apollo. He doesn't even know that he doesn't have a fight anymore. Yeah, on the bicentennial, right?
Yeah. But it's like Mickey's pretty much protecting him. It's like, I will train you to help you beat this guy.
Yeah.
And he's just
or even if you lose, you'll have proper representation, so you can parlay this into maybe making some money out of this.
Or you can even make it close enough where it's like, we can even get you more fights.
Yeah.
Like a proper trainer.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on with one, or can we transition into two a little bit?
Let's talk about Paulie in one, because we barely touched on Paulie.
Yeah, Paulie is just this weird mixed bag of tricks between like just an absolute sweetheart and just this fucking douche.
But look at the relationship between him and Rocky. It's like they're the complete opposites, but like they're the best of friends.
Yeah.
And I think,
and again, it shows the goodness of Rocky because later on, I think it's in 3 where he tells Apollo like you just need like 6 years to get used to him.
Yeah.
And I think what's also really kind of, I think Paulie also represents the audience.
Yeah,
very much so throughout all the movies.
I don't know about 3. 3 feels like a bit of comic relief.
Yeah. Oh, very much so.
No, 3 has got one of my favorite scenes in 3. There was one scene in 3 which I love to bits with Paulie. It's when he's fighting Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Thunderlips. The ultimate
and
male
Rocky gets
specimen.
back to the corner. It's like, Paulie, I gotta take these gloves off. He pulls a switchblade out, flicks the switch. It's like, okay, he's definitely a street tough from Philly. Cuts the gloves off, and then go to town. Like, Rocky already knows how to street fight, so go.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Burt Young was an amateur boxer in his youth.
Really?
Yeah. And like, there's rumors, it's unsubstantiated, but that before the like written out fight sequence we were talking about, before he took it back to Carl Weathers and Alvinson, the director, like that he essentially ran it by Burt Young and was like, hey, U-box is this fluid movement, and they talked about some of the, the combinations and things like that.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah. It's really, that's really cool. And yeah, he does have an element, as much as he's a man that's seen better days, and in all seriousness, there you can see that he is grizzled. You know, he's tough.
And the only reason why Paulie is even close to being a douche is because Adrian is just so good.
Yeah, you have to balance it.
That he just he just like he looks at his sister and he's like, I am fucking nothing to you.
Yeah,
I'm a piece of shit. You know, which is why like
he's very jealous.
Which is why comes 6. He's like, I don't have to feel shitty anymore. I was terrible to her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you had all the good times.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I liked about it, I think it was in 1, where he comes home pissed drunk and he grabs the baseball bat. He throws the turkey outside.
Yeah, throws the turkey.
And then he comes in with a bat and starts tearing the house apart. Adrian's in a room crying. Rocky pretty much shuts him up, like grabs the bat, throws it away from him, and then he just sits there. And then Adrian finally grows a set and just goes at him. And then there's this one scene where he's just sitting there. It's like, you're supposed to take care of me. Like, he's like completely like at wit's end. It's almost it's his jealousy factor.
Yeah,
it really is his jealousy factor. Like, he's been jealous of him. It's sad. Like, there's this man who's like, he works his whole life and he can't get anywhere. He's always at the bottom. He's trying his hardest. He can never get there, and he has to watch like his friend, who originally he thought was probably like, he's smarter than Rocky, this and that. But look how fast Rocky's taken off. He's got his sister. He's got somebody he loves. Where the hell's somebody that Paulie could love?
Yeah. Well, he gets the robot.
Yeah. Only for like a couple movies, though.
Yeah.
One movie, wasn't it?
One movie, yeah.
I like to think it's a couple.
Well, yeah. Well, after we come back from break, we'll get into that, because that kid ages like 15 years on a
holy shit,
like between 3 and or between 4 and 5.
Reverse
as I like to call it,
Button?
pulling a John Connor.
Yeah, pulling a John Connor, exactly. So you have the great, climax of number 2 of number 1, and number 2 starts with that again, and the heartfelt moment of, Adrian and coming in, and I think that's definitely the right choice. Instead of having them be carried off by the fans and then meet Adrian at the back, you got to make Adrian the important part.
Tussle their way to that ring.
And the
like,
fact that they're fighting through to get to each other.
She's just like, fuck that hat, man. I don't need a hat. Rocky's gonna buy me like 5 of those things.
And that's what's so great about the first one, is that you really don't care whether he's won or that he's lost the fight. No,
because he got the girl.
Yes, it's all about the fact that he did it just to prove it to himself, and now he is a centered individual, and it just wants to be with his woman. Mm-hmm. He just wants to be with this girl, and she realizes that this guy is just following his dreams, and I want to be with him. You know,
help him reach that dream.
Which is why, and then. This is the funny thing. And then 2 comes along.
Yeah.
Very similar sort of story.
Yeah.
He gets the title, so now as an audience member, you feel like vilified because Rocky's got the belt. It's all
and he beats
great.
Apollo by 1 second. Like they're both down. And he gets up 1 fucking second. He beats him, and that's a recurring
theme. He stumbles.
Yeah.
He gets to his feet, and then finally it's
so the rep just goes over to Apollo and it's like, you're out.
And then he hits and he drops to his knees.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Hey, Adrian, I did it."
Yeah.
And then
yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And then it's perfect. You know what I mean?
She's at home with the kid.
Yeah.
And then 3, it's all about just 3 is the only one where I don't know what is the moral story in 3. Like 1 and 2 have a moral story.
It's
4
the
has a moral
arc.
one.
3 is the friendship arc, absolutely.
I wouldn't say 3 is the friendship. It's more of staying grounded and remembering where you came from.
Yeah. I agree that
he got bloated with fame.
Yeah. No, I concur with that. But I think...
Do you concur?
I concur.
Yeah. That was the only one I couldn't find the moral story in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of great stuff in that, but we'll get to that after the break. I do want to touch on the fact that the boxing sequence in number 2, Sly was hurt for that. He was weightlifting and he was benching like 1,000,000 pounds or something and ripped a pectoral muscle.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So he lost a titty?
Yeah, he lost a titty.
Oh.
So that whole second film fight sequence, it's like every punch he's throwing, it's like, oh fuck. And it's a fantastic scene. It took him like 8 months to edit the fucking thing or something like that. You probably know that better than me. I don't recall, but I know it's like a long period of time.
I think it was like a month. I think it was a month and a half.
And they had to shoot.
It was a month. Yeah, it was a month and a half for 13 minutes.
Yeah, something like that.
Fight. That's how long like that whole epic last thing is. 13 minutes. Fuck.
Yeah, and this is the first one that Sly directed, right? Number 2. He directed number 2, right? I wrote it somewhere.
It should be
on this sheet. Yep, he directed 2, 3, and 4, and then John Avildsen comes back for 5. Unfortunate, movie, but whatever. Yeah,
incredible that he I pulled a pectoral muscle once using a cheese slicer. One of my early 20-year-old university who gives a fuck jobs, and I couldn't even stand up.
Yeah,
that's it is the most intense and all-encompassing pain that exists. You breathe, it hurts. You move your arm, it hurts.
But at the same time, could you bench 250 at the time?
Well, no. But a rip instead of a pull. Considerably.
So, worse.
So pretty much, can you bench one pull?
He lifted 250 ounces. Okay.
I was benching 10, 15 at the time.
It was an empty bar.
Yeah.
113 pounds soaking wet.
The Apollo arc in the second one is really interesting too. Just this man falling apart. Because there's this balance of people that are saying, you're a chump, you're not a champ, and then the other part of him, you carried that guy for 15 rounds. And he's trying to deal with this and he can't reconcile it. So he's got to come back. He's got to give him another shot, and subsequently you get Super Fight 2, and it's so cool. The other thing that I love about that is the zoo, because in the first one, so you should take your girl to the zoo. Retards love the zoo.
How about I break your thumbs?
Yeah, and then in 2 he actually fucking takes her to the zoo to propose to her.
Yeah.
There's one thing we haven't touched on, and it's through all the films.
The jacket?
No.
I love that tiger jacket, man.
The sound effects.
Yeah,
the punches. Those are the most iconic
the sound design is good. Really good. Especially for the era.
You could be in another room and somebody have the volume turned up loud and you can hear the punching and it's like somebody's watching Rocky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know the sound of that thud. Oh hey, here's another thing. First movie. I was reading that in the same the fight sequence when I was reading about the fight sequence. The gloves that they use, they're illegal. I don't they're completely illegal in the U.S. They're not real boxing gloves, but they just looked aesthetically pleasing. So fuck it, whatever.
They were big, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were oversized.
They're sleek. They're really sleek. So yeah.
Too thin? Too light?
Yeah, I
the
don't...
ones in the third or the ones in the first?
Dude, I skimmed through this. It was 5 a.m. when I read this fucking article. Do you really have to call me out on the fact that I didn't read? I know they're illegal.
I'm just curious because they changed the glove design in the third one. They were smaller, mitts almost.
MMA gloves?
Yeah, except without the finger holes.
Yeah.
That did sound pretty wrong, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, anything else we want to touch on with 2? Two's a great film. Like you said, you see Rocky develop the... You have Adrian pregnant.
Rocky's little naive when it comes to talking to people.
And making money.
When Grazo goes up to talk to him, he's just like, Rocky, what do you know about... What do you know about condominiums?
Yeah.
I never used one.
Yeah. That's such a good line. And, the way that with the, when he's getting out of the hospital, when he's going to propose to Adrian, and the guys are like, you should be in ads, you could make a fortune. And he's like, well, I'll sign it, but I got to go somewhere right now. All that is so good. And those,
he doesn't even know what the hell he's signing.
Yeah. Those sequences, with just everyone being so mean to him. Because of he can't read that well or whatever, and then you see the perseverance of Rocky, where you see him that night reading in bed to Adrian, and her just being very supportive, and
this is why she's just an angel.
Yeah, she's just the best woman ever.
Fuck,
this is more of a Talia Shire love fest right now.
Yeah, Talia Shire is in that era, she's just the coolest, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's why another reason why I almost cried at the beginning of 6.
Yeah, when she doesn't. Yeah.
It's fuck, man. You have 5 movies of a guy fixing falling in love, keeping a family together, everything with this love that his whole being, and then you have a movie where everything is gone.
Yeah.
He's got a restaurant with her name on it.
It's everything she worked to keep together, gone.
Yes, and a relationship with his son, which is now strictly up to him to build. And that is fuck. That's why, I don't know, I love 6.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. It's great.
6 is amazing.
Second highest rated, I think, on IMDb for sure. We'll get into that. Let's take a little break. We'll come back. We'll talk about 3, 4, 5. and 6. We'll just mash it all together because we're running long a little bit.
Cool.
And then and get all the great villains in, and maybe talk a little about what we're hoping for out of Creed. Maybe not.
The montages.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. There needs to be good music coming in Creed for those montages, man.
I'm waiting for
greatest
one.
music ever in the series. Greatest, like some of the best film music ever.
That's another. We'll get to
We'll
it.
get on it.
All right, we're coming right back. If you have an idea for something you'd like to hear on the show, please email us at show@moviesruinmylife.com or reach out to us on Twitter. And however you're taking part in this episode, please don't forget to leave comments, share, reach out to us so we can keep the conversation going. Okay, so we're back, and let's get into all the other Rockies. Holy crap, there's so much material with this. Where do you guys want to kick off? I guess 3 makes the most sense.
Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang.
The Eye of the Tiger.
Yes, this is the first movie that Eye of the Tiger appears in.
Absolutely.
And also fucking Carl Weathers says it about 8 million times. Just the whole movie every 2 seconds. Eye of the Tiger, Rock. Eye of the Tiger. You know, he's going to the bathroom. He's like, you keep it in the center. Eye of the Tiger.
He's coaching him through everything.
Yeah. And I love the fashion in this with the fucking high-cut sweatshirts with the cut-off sleeves.
That's classic.
The
man.
high socks on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
You don't do that no more.
And 2 grown men playing in the ocean. Tantalizing.
Yeah, how funny was that? Like, back then, you didn't have people being like, well, it's a little homoerotic, don't you think?
Well, it's not
you know, you didn't have that back then. That was just 2 fucking buddies hanging
it out in the
and-
water, yeah.
Hey, man, those 2 guys really must have helped each other out. They're just hugging over there in their high socks in the water. It's great.
Yeah, those 2 very fit men.
That's so masculine.
Well, I wouldn't call it as bad as the volleyball scene from Top Gun.
Yeah, that's a little
That's
on the edge.
right there.
Yeah.
Hanging with the boys.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I often hang out shirtless with my friends, all oiled up, and play volleyball. No, that's never happened.
That's right, Brandon.
I don't understand
That
why
was
you said
supposed
it
to be
like
a
that.
Maverick reference.
Oh, yes,
That's right,
yes.
Ice Man.
Yeah.
I am dangerous.
In addition to the fashion in this movie also has some of the best boxing to this point in the series. You get to see, Rocky developing footwork, obviously.
Speed too.
Yeah, and the movie starts off with Rocky kind of. It shows that essentially, he's had 10 title defenses at this point, and it's alluded to that perhaps Mickey is, although they're good fighters, kind of protecting him from some of the.
Well, you think like he even says you got soft.
Yeah.
Like look at the beginning of the film, Rocky's on the Muppets. Then there's Rocky T-shirts. He's on all these magazines. He smashes a pinball machine, which I gotta say is a pretty sweet pinball machine. Mm-hmm. And then he gets arrested, and then you see Rocky, like he's totally different from what he is in the first 2.
He trains in a hotel.
He's trained in a hotel, but he's totally different. He's got a nice suit on. He's got the nice car.
Yeah.
He's well spoken. So he is soft in the third. He's completely gone soft. He's lost his touch. He's lost his roots.
Yeah.
And now he has to take on somebody who is hungry as he was in the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
I do, as much as I have issues with 3, I do love the character of Clubber Lang. Like, he's just, at that point, he pretty much is the new Rocky. He's a guy from the ground going up, and the whole time he's just like, I can bleed you. You are done.
Yeah.
To a point where Paulie is just like, you have nothing on this guy.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, obviously, like what happens with Mick, and you have that whole heartfelt moment at
funeral.
Yeah, and Rocky goes into the ring though, and essentially throws in the towel. Like, I'm just not doing this. Mm-hmm. And that's so interesting to see the first time you get to see a quit. An element of quitting in Rocky, because you've never seen that before. You almost, for the first maybe 30 minutes of this film, or a little bit longer actually, because through the Apollo training sequences and whatnot, you see this side of Rocky, this fearful, apprehensive side that you haven't seen thus far in the series. and I don't want to say it's refreshing because it's not. It's actually infuriating in a lot of ways, but I like where they went with it because, you know, how else are they going to do it? Because if it's just he's not as good anymore, he's already had to change his style of fighting because of the whole eye injury in the second one. You know, so if they just, you know, and obviously they go back to it in 5 with the brain damage, but if they just said you got another injury, you're going to retire, that's, you know, it seems disingenuous. So I like the idea of adding a new kind of, I have things to lose now. Like before I was fearless because I had nothing to lose. You know, I had no one to prove anything to but myself. And now I feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. It's such an interesting
Like he gets called out at a press conference in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
On the steps of the museum.
As he's getting a statue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good statue.
Yeah. They actually did build that statue in real life.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
It's actually in Stallone's driveway. He looks at it every morning.
Yeah, right?
I used to be something.
No, he's still something.
Yeah.
If nothing else, he's a producer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I also like, we've already talked about Thunderlips a little bit. We've talked about Clubber. I love the Apollo relationship. We've gone on this. This is what I clinged on to in this movie a lot. And I also I really like Duke. I really, really like Duke.
Yeah, oh, Duke's amazing. But I love where Apollo finds Rocky in the third.
Yeah.
Like he's broken down. He's back at the old Fighting Mickey's gym.
Yeah.
He doesn't know where to go next.
And Apollo
walks in. He says, "You lost something.
Yeah.
You lost it."
And I love how he tells him, "I was waiting at your house for an hour, is it? Or I was waiting at your house for a while, and, you know,
I knew I'd
Adrian thought you might be here." But, like, it just shows, it shows a humanity to him, you know.
But he even tells him, he's like, "You had it when you fought me. I had it years ago. You lost it.
Yeah.
Like I lost it.
We got to get it back."
Yeah, we got to get back. And then where do they fly off to again? What is it, like Chicago they take him, or Detroit?
I thought he was, you know, it's California.
Oh, yeah, they take him out of the mean streets of California.
Yeah.
It's like, we can't stay at a good hotel? Fucking Paulie.
Yeah, I don't think it's L.A., but I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Somewhere around in California.
Yeah, but it's definitely in California. It's really...
And he takes him to like this underground gym where it's like, this is where I started.
Yeah.
It's like, see all these guys, Rock? They're like you.
Yeah.
Look at their eyes. What do they got?
Yeah. Eye of the tiger again. But and it's interesting too in that scene Burt Young has that exchange with both Sly and Talia Shire, where they're talking about he says like I don't like these people or something like that, and then Rocky goes, maybe these people don't like you either.
What do they got against me?
Yeah, what did I do? It's like, you just said you're basically a racist. And now you're upset about them being, you know, prejudiced against you. It's so funny. It's such a good exchange.
Paulie gets his, though. He gets pushed in the pool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a great
with
scene,
a cigar in the mouth, too. That's the best part.
Yeah. And we already talked about the beach scene. The beach scene is great with Adrian, and where he quits in the race with Apollo, and then Adrian just, you know, gives him exactly what he needs. And it's that support system that the two of them have built that you see going back and forth between the films and continues on right through to 5, like you were talking about.
It's almost as though you see Apollo almost quit on him. Like when he just gives up running, Apollo starts flipping out.
He says it's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
If you can't do this, it's done. You can't go any further than now. You have to keep pushing.
It's interesting, yeah.
So he pretty much quit on him, and then it's like, okay, you beat me in a race. Let's go play in the water, and then we're going to go fight Clubber Lang after.
Yeah, exactly. And you owe me a favor. He keeps alluding to the favor that he owes him, right?
And then which is pretty funny scene at
But
the
that
end.
fight alone was incredible.
The fight is amazing in this film. It's my favorite. Well, it's not my favorite because obviously the first one's super emotional. The second one, he wins for the first time, so there's a connection there.
First one, you see Rocky taunting an opponent to hit him.
Yeah, but just he comes out with that jab, and he comes out with speed, and all these things that you saw start with Mickey, and now have reached a new level with Apollo. And you see if he had continued through, and Duke, and if he continued through that grit. And the way the chasing the chickens and so forth, and started to continued developing his skills. How amazing! Like this never would have happened.
Absolutely.
I absolutely adore that fight. It's so well choreographed, and it's so it's emotional just as much as 1 and 2. And ironically, like, you know, IMDb has this film really low. I don't have it in front of me, but I know this is like 67 or 6.7 or something like that. Here it is. Rocky 3, 6.7 on IMDb, 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's just barely certified fresh. But that the ending is the redeemer for the film in a lot of ways for me. The fight sequence is what that film is about, and it's you know, it's my first exposure as a child to kind of what real boxing looks like, you know. Mm-hmm. So
just look at Rocky's corner, though. It's like, if you talk about emotion in the ring, it's like, look at Duke and Paulie and even Apollo. They're flipping out in the corner. Like, get out of there! Like, you're
when he picks him up and throws him into the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they finally, the bell rings. Fight almost breaks up between Apollo and Glover, and then they get back in the corner. It's like, what the hell do you think you're doing? You're taking shots. Like, no, look at him. He's getting tired.
Yeah, and he starts taunting him. That's so fucking good, man.
Because he knows he's got more stamina than him. Because he can.
Yeah, but even at that, like, Apollo alludes to, if he can't get it done by the 8th, like when he's talking to Duke and he's watching the tape, if he can't get it done by the 7th or 8th, like, Rocky's gonna be gassed too. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool that he knows that Clubber is gassed. He's been hitting the body, he's been nailing that jab, and he's developed a really good right hook in that, you know, comparative to the early films. Absolutely. Like, it looks more like boxing.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's really interesting watching, you know, the footwork and everything, and thinking like, oh, okay, this guy's a real fucking fighter now.
His jabs alone are like tight. Like, you can just
and you see him just like the way like a Mayweather or something like that, just gasses like guys with just like punches and bunches, you know,
like little speed punches in and out, like in and
out.
It's
like, this is how this got me excited about boxing. Like, this film is the one that, you know, as much as the first two, it's like it made me love Rocky, it made me love the story and all that stuff, but this one is, you know, that end sequence changes everything for me, at least, and for a lot of young men probably, in all seriousness. And, you know, that like this is like a dance. This is beautiful, you know?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Sweet science.
And when he wins, it's like he does that jump up and then lands directly on his knees. It's like, oh, this guy just has like the greatest feeling in the world. It's like, I don't even give a shit if I destroy my knees right now. I'm just going up like, yes.
I also love the definitive win, because the thing is, if he doesn't, like, he throws in the towel in the first fight. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, after getting mashed the fuck up by Clubber. So if he doesn't win definitively, and that's brilliant writing on Sly's part as well. If he doesn't win definitively, you got to have another fucking rematch. And then Rocky 4 is fucking Clubber again. And you end up in this rut where it's like 2 film story arcs to do everything. And subsequently they make it into a decisive win. They expose the weakness in Clubber, and in that kind of build a really close bond between him and Apollo.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
what's also great too is that they build, you know, Clubber laying up as, you know, like the boxer and everything like that. But even just the casting in that, they got, it says, you know, we grew up with fucking Mr. T as Mr. T. This movie says, and introducing Mr. T, because at this point in like Hollywood history, all Mr. T was a security guard, was security for Michael Jackson, and he was a bouncer.
Yeah.
That was it.
Which is so interesting because, of course, like Rocky in the first film, Sly was an usher. He's making $36 a week or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and he gets the starring role. So, you know, you got Mr. T out of this film again, kind of the...
And then look at
which is why, like, you could almost, like... You almost can root for Mr. T a little bit, because he's so very much he's Rocky 2.0, like legit.
Yeah. Get him.
You know, and yeah, but that fight is great. The big qualms I have with 3 is that's when you really see those movies turning into a fucking franchise. The first,
well, when he wrote 3, before you go into it, and I know what you're saying, but when he wrote 3, he intended it as a bookend. Like, 3 was it. 3 was it. Like them backing up dump trucks of money at his fucking house got number 4 made. Like, he envisioned it as a 3-part series. Once they got 2, he wrote 2 and 3 because that's how he wanted it. You know, but
the idea of just Rocky fighting a Russian got 4 made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But 3, like,
which we were going to get into.
It starts off with a montage.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just all like, here's the hit song and here's all just commercial and Rocky's fucking rich, and a lot of that heart.
Rocky gets
as
a
much
motorcycle.
as much as we,
Paulie gets a robot.
As much as we like, yeah, Paulie gets a robot. Like we talk and discuss about how, like, yes, it's still very rooted in the characters, but it's a very glamorized version of this love story. Innately, it's a love story. You know, of this very dark, you know, raw film. It's now this huge blockbuster.
So 3 ends with the iconic, you know, third kind of off the books scrum between
and we
Apollo
don't see anything
and Rocky, and just that classic, like you know, the painting that the still it goes to at the end where Rocky's coming with the, you know, his left and Apollo's coming over the top with his right. And just that iconic image, and that's the fight starting. The next movie, you know, does the replay like it always does, the recap of the last film, so that people who haven't seen the last one can kind of get on board this moving train. And then you get, sorry.
Wait. You gonna ring the bell?
Yes.
Ding.
Ding. Yeah. So and you get into 4, and Rocky, he drives up to the house, and sorry, I guess Paulie gets the robot in 4. We keep saying Paulie gets the robot in 3, but he gets it in 4.
His birthday party.
Yeah, his birthday party. So he shows up, Rock shows up for the birthday, and he's coming from that fight. So the chronology's attached. They're attached. And, you know, the kid comes out and, you know, he's got the fucking camera. I was like, where'd you get that hat? And it's like, from a friend. Where'd you get that black eye? Same friend. You know? And then, you know, obviously Paulie gets a robot, blah, blah, blah. And can we skip ahead? Is it all right if we skip ahead to when Apollo sees this fucking...
this
beast of a Russian on TV.
Absolutely.
Dolph Lundgren.
PhD.
Oh my God. He's so this is where I can actually come into the conversation. I honestly, I haven't even seen 3, so this whole conversation should have been like spoiler alerted for me.
Which is interesting because now you see all the context of the third one, right?
But Dolph Lundgren is incredible. He is such a good
perfect.
enemy.
He's a machine.
And he got the role like coming to an open casting call. Yeah, like amazing.
Like you don't even think of like if you look at the guy and somebody said that guy's got a PhD, full of shit. Look it up.
Oh, he's a genius.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a great.
And they wrote it into his Expendables character.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a great juxtaposition of you know, I mean, just like you saw in kind of the Cold War era with the kind of attitude. I mean, granted, we're only seeing the Western version of it, so you know, it's a little bit
kind of reminds
biased,
you of
but
the hockey series, like the Canada, what is it, the Canada 67 series or 76 series? Canada versus
Summit
Russia.
series,
The Summit series. Yeah.
I mean,
Paul Henry.
over there, they were creating these sports figures. Really, I mean, they were taking people who showed promise and just
Putting the
just laser focusing them into this discipline to make them the absolute best that they possibly could. Whereas America was still very much like, you know, if you want to succeed, you got to just work your hardest. Like they, you know, they weren't really manufacturing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of echoes very closely the space race, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you know, it's really cool.
That's why Rocky IV legitimately is the Cold War, man.
Yeah.
Watching that movie is it's the Cold War, and shortly after, you know, the wall. It only took, you know, about maybe 4 or 5 years, and that wall came crumbling down.
Yeah. So thank you, Sly.
for ending.
What's the wife's name?
Oh, her name. Yes, we were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah. The Drago's wife.
Drago's wife.
Oh shit! I can't even remember.
Because she dated Flava Flav for a while.
Oh,
right? Yeah.
Bridget Nielsen.
Nielsen, yeah.
What a knockout
in those days.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh my god.
She was. It was after this movie when, like, I think her and Stallone were banging, because after this, he's like, why don't you come over with me and we'll do Cobra?
Yeah, that's right. She was in Cobra.
Way of the New World.
Interesting. Yeah.
She was.
That's all I have to say about her. I just want to know her name. Moving along.
Yeah.
Let's get to Apollo.
Yeah, the Apollo death, and now with the you got to see 3 now, Devon, because now you understand why it's so emotional, because you've just built this new relationship, and you know so Apollo fights, and we've already talked about living in America, the labyrinth scene, and all this stuff, and Rocky, maybe you should just postpone it, all of this, and of course, if the legendary "if he dies line, right?
I just love it when the stage is coming up. You got Drago in the middle of the ring.
Yeah,
he just doesn't give a
confused.
shit what's going on, and then he's seeing everything come around him.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, there he is on a giant bull's head, which is the most American thing apparently in the 80s. Who knows?
Wasn't it an elephant head?
No, it was a bull.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure it was a bull.
I feel like it was an elephant because that legitimately is an American thing.
Elephant?
Yeah, Republicans, right? Is it Republicans or Democrats that have the elephant?
Oh,
I'm Canadian. So
I think it was a bull.
You think it was a bull?
Because he
Okay.
had like
on the same side.
steam coming out of his nose, and then all of a sudden, James Brown.
Yeah.
I love
Okay, I stand corrected.
I love that too. Another kind of Soviet versus U.S. Kind of juxtaposition there of just like the whole
The spectacle.
feeling of the America's all about like
Rah,
you know
rah.
here's how you win with spirit, and the Soviet Union is just like you win with
Sheer
like
Death.
8,000 PSI punches. That's how you win, actually.
making this guy a human machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Juice him.
That's the funniest thing. Like the whole training sequence, Drago shows no emotion whatsoever. Like he's doing pretty much every training known to man. The only time you see any pain in him during the training sequence is when he's taking a needle in the
The
leg.
injection, yeah. Yeah.
Which is
He's juicing, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And
Huge.
then Drago, kind of foreshadows in real life the, Klitschko's, who then just, how it's been now 15. Just to really talk boxing for a second here, it's been what 17 years, and the titles have not been unified. 15?
Yeah.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
Shit.
Although he's an amateur champ, he's not they don't have professional boxing at that point in time in this world. In any case,
But
so
get to the fight.
yeah, so Apollo dies. You get that great funeral
It
sequence.
wasn't even that. It's the fact that he tells Rock, whatever you do, don't throw.
Don't stop the fight.
Don't
yeah.
stop the fight.
So Rocky honors his
Duke
last
is-
wish
Duke is
and lets his
begging
friend
him.
die almost.
Duke is pretty much begging him, throw the towel.
yeah, he's
please.
losing his shit.
As he's standing there getting
And that-
pummeled.
Yeah,
and his
and then
poor wife is sitting in the crowd. It's like, you had one fucking job to do.
yeah,
Throw the
you had
towel.
one job.
And you couldn't even do it. Well, it was your husband's last wish. Fuck his last wish.
Yeah. Oh man! At least he could have been a vegetable if you'd stopped at one punch.
He could have
earlier.
been the Stephen
Is that
Hawking
any better? Like that's the thing.
He could
Like,
have been the
was
Stephen
already pretty
Hawkins of
fucked up.
boxing,
Like it's
okay?
pretty clear he's hemorrhaging before that. Like it's acted out.
Yeah.
Carl Weathers is acting out a brain hemorrhage on screen.
So what if he has he gets to have the robot as his voice and wheel him
Dude,
around
that's
in a
not how
wheelchair?
it works.
Yeah, man.
He's on life support.
To go with the theme of the movie, there is no easy way out. There is no shortcut home. You either die fighting, or maybe you win.
Roll the music. Let's get moving though, because we're dwelling on 4, but it's good. Funeral sequence, which for some reason all these people that love Apollo, Rocky's been his bud for like a fucking week,
He's the only one there.
and he's the one that's giving the eulogy.
But you never really know someone.
Yeah,
until
there could have been 10 people. Yeah, that's true.
Duke should have gave them the eulogy.
I just asked Frazier about Ali, right?
Word.
But yeah, like Duke's losing his shit. He's just like falling apart, and that's why he agrees to train Rocky, because it's it's the only family he's got left, and it's like that you're the last remnants of Apollo that I have,
His training sequence is incredible.
Yeah, and so let's get to this beautiful training sequence.
Hearts on fire.
Yeah. And the Soviet guards following him in the car.
Ollie bitching about, they got my comic books here.
Yeah, man. He's got the beard and he's in the woods.
Yeah.
Pulling a
And it's
cart.
so funny because he's kind of winning over the people of this small village, which is with the goodness in him,
Yeah.
And
But he's making do with what he has. Like he's got pretty much rocks, and that's it.
Yep.
Rocks and rope, and he's making do.
Well, he has the speed bag, and he has a heavy bag. So
But he literally beats,
yeah, like all this advanced science.
Ivan with the roots of his own country.
Yeah.
No,
No,
which
it's
is another
true.
thing that's so which is pretty
Like,
cool about
what?
4.
You didn't lift that log that's just in this field over here? You're in Russia. Just grab the log.
There's a small scene during the training sequence, and it's Duke playing chess with one of the Russian guards, and he beats him.
Yes, I remember that.
And it's just like you see this Russian's face, like what the
There's a deleted scene where actually the guard gets up and shoots Duke in the leg. No, it doesn't actually happen. But yeah,
I was like, whoa.
I feel like they took that seriously. I'm like,
Would have
wow.
stopped the music in that montage.
And all of a sudden, Rambo kicks the door in, and there we
well,
go.
yeah. In number 2, actually, there's alluding to Rambo. There's actually a line where one of the announcers calls him Rambo instead of Rocky, which Rambo hadn't even come out yet. It's just so funny. There's all these little things. And they allude to First Blood. He's got to draw First Blood.
Yeah.
Or no, it's 3. It's 3. I'm sorry. It is 3. That all of that shit that I just said happens.
It's also interesting what you're saying about how Rocky winning over this small village. I mean, the Soviet Union, for all of its power, was very like it was an empire held hostage. Basically, I mean, these people were. Ivan Drago, granted he was proud of where he came from, but he couldn't get out. Like that's just what he has to do.
No,
whereas Rocky is choosing to be here.
Yeah,
he's choosing to fight this.
Drago, the fascinating thing about Drago as a villain is he is a shell of a man.
Yeah,
he is a straight up brainwashed.
He comes to life at the end.
Machine.
Though.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Let's get to that fight.
Let's do it right now.
Let's go on.
It's I
Round
mean,
one.
I haven't seen 3, but this fight is amazing.
Look
I
at
don't
the
even
size
like watching
difference on
boxing.
them.
Yeah, like this.
Rocky's jumping to get a shot in on his head.
This fight, in a lot of ways, harkens back to 1 and 2, where Rocky just takes a bajillion shots right to the fucking head and just keeps coming. And as much as that's kind of, in a lot of ways, unrealistic, it's perfect for the character because
David versus Goliath.
Yeah, exactly.
They even say that, I think, you have the 2 ringside announcers. They even say it.
You get that feeling right off the bat of like, oh, can he do it? Like, there's
like
a
you're
really
worried.
big
You're legitimately
hit,
worried
early on, where it's like, oh god, like,
how's he getting himself out of this one?
Really rough.
And it's interesting because I had caught up at this point. Like before, I think I watched all of these. I didn't even know about Rocky 5. I think I watched all of these movies for the first time, like 1990 or 1991. So I don't even know if I know that 5 came out in 90, right? But I don't remember. I thought oh fuck, this is the end of the series. He's fucking dead. He's gonna die.
Yeah, I was in the same boat because my parents were diehard Rocky fans. So when 5 came out, I was like, "What about 5?" Literally, everyone in my whole family was like, "You don't have to watch 5." I didn't watch 5 until I was like 17, 18 on my own time.
Yeah,
because nobody in my family would watch it with me. But
sad story.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into 5 right now?
Yeah,
just push it?
Let's let Devin have his moment in the sun.
I wanted
though.
to just clarify one thing about the whole Soviet Union thing that I said earlier. It's like Ivan Drago is a hero to his government.
Yes.
Rocky is a hero to his people.
Yes, and that's
what-
serious fucking.
Yeah.
That's which
Rocky
is why
isn't a soldier.
They're both proud, but one of them is really only he's only serving the purpose of the ruling class, whereas Rocky is serving, and so that's where he really connects with the with even the people of this other country that are
half of them are
his
standing
enemies.
while he's beating their countrymen, and they're applauding for Rocky and chanting for Rocky, and the higher powers that be are getting pissed. Like, what the fuck, man?
That's what's very powerful, especially at that ending. We make fun of it because he's like, you're friends with me and I'm friends with you. People are people. Why can't we just be friends? It's like we make fun of it.
It's true.
I joke around saying like that scene ended the Cold War, but fuck, to be fair,
it was very human.
You didn't. There were no movies coming out on either side of the border that was really pushing something that kind of political, and it happened to come out in fucking Rocky 4.
Yeah.
But yeah.
On to 5.
On to 5.
And
5 and 6. Let's
5 and 6.
because
5
we're
and
going
6.
to talk about 5 for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
there is really one thing about 5 that I enjoy. Like, they got right. It's the whole concussion aspect of the sport.
He's punch
that
drunk,
was a huge thing, like, for a sports movie to, like, recognize, like, you can get injured and this is how.
And you're a big proponent of the street fight sequence, and that being the crescendo of the film.
He does a straight up uppercut onto Tommy Gunn and onto the hood of a car.
Yeah.
Even Paulie gets in on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Even Paulie gets in on it. It's like, Rocky doesn't have to do shit. Like, Paulie's the street fighter out of all of them.
Yeah. You just expect him to come running out of the alley with a fucking chair or a garbage can or something, like, you know, like pro wrestling style.
I like as well, like you were saying earlier, the whole rags to riches to rags
story,
which is very true of a lot of those guys. I mean, they get used to this lavish lifestyle. Nobody's telling them the truth.
Yeah.
Nobody's, everybody's kind of sugarcoating it for them.
They'll have a proper accountant.
And they're going to hit a point where it's like you're not fighting these big title fights. You're not making this money anymore.
But Rocky didn't lose the money. Paulie lost the
money.
money.
Lost the money.
But I mean, it goes somehow,
and he still
right?
loves
It wasn't
him.
that. It was
but he
something...
still kept the old house. That's the one thing I do truly enjoy. Is like after all these years, he's kept that old house.
Just like the Morris, or just like the Smiths.
Yeah,
never want to go back to the old house.
Woe is Morrissey. So the one thing I liked about 5, which I will touch on again still, is Adrian and how she is really just trying to keep this family together.
Yeah.
I like that.
And her like mutant quick aging kid.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I really do feel that so Rocky 5 was supposed to end with Rocky dying at the end of it. They were supposed to kill Rocky, which would have been it would have been like a darker ending, but
like just like a bus runs by as the street fight clears out and he just runs over Rocky.
That's one of the things I like. It's Adrian's on the like it would be like in real life. Like a street fight breaks out and you have the wife on the front porch yelling at her husband.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck back in the house. You can't fight anymore.
Like hitting the other guy with the broom.
But it's also but it would also be a really telling story and a real story of a boxer that you grew with, and that's what is it's a very sad and important story to tell. That these gladiators at the end still have nothing. Which is what makes to move into it. Rocky Balboa is like a nice little cherry on top to that franchise. Is everything that went wrong in 5 got fixed in 6, almost to a point where you can just watch 1 and then go right into 6 and
absolutely.
feel just as good about it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like Spider Rico sitting in the restaurant.
Yeah, right? Doing dishes
Eating
for him.
for free.
Yeah, right? Like, hey, Spider, what are you doing today? Hey, last time you talked to me like that, you got a right hook to the face. And there's both him and Spider Rico begging to get paid at the beginning of Rocky 1, and there he is.
Didn't Spider make like $17 or something?
Yeah,
like that?
and then right before his fight, against Dixon, he's the minister beside Rocky, giving him the prayers.
Yeah.
And with him, like with the towel around him, even leaving. Rocky Balboa, I really holds a place in my heart because
Absolutely, me too.
it's about a guy who, again, you watch all the other movies, Rags to Riches, all that, and then now he doesn't want to even have a huge fight with a guy due to a whole, robot computer generated thing. He just wants to fight because that's all he knows how to do.
Yeah.
He knows how to punch meat, and he can't even punch meat anymore because, Paulie retired, and then he goes in there with that big piece of meat and the bottle, and then turns on the TV.
Paulie got forced into retirement. They pretty much just cut him loose.
Which
like, here's your last thing.
Yeah.
Which is what's even.
It's a sad story.
So
like
sad about
we've been ripping on Paulie this pretty much entire discussion, but you feel so bad for Paulie when it comes to Balboa, especially because. Like, Rock wants to relive all his memories with him and Adrian, and he drags Paulie with him. He drags into like the rink, and the rink is demolished.
And there he is,
and
crying.
reliving. It's like and he literally just takes his bottle and says, "I can't do it anymore. It hurts. She was my sister too. Like you don't realize
like
that.
Shit. Yeah.
Like you remind me that I treated her like shit in these old days.
Yeah, and then
you feel for him.
Yeah, and then he goes in there in the meat plant when Rocky's even just Rocky goes up to his son and goes, "Hey, you know what? I'm thinking about." Boxing, locally, and he's like, "Dad, I think something's wrong with your head. I don't think you need to prove anything to anybody." Goes to Paulie, and there's Paulie painting at work or on the midnight shift where there's no meat. So, you get a taste of what the economy's like even at the current time and whatever else.
Yeah.
And there's Paulie painting this picture and says to him, he's like, Rock, I can't even go through I can't train you right now. He's like, this is all I got left.
Yeah.
You know?
My
like,
job is all I have.
Well, can you come watch me train? He's like, yeah, sure, I'll go watch you train. And then Rocky then leaves defeated. Nobody is, again, supporting him in the one thing that he wants to do. And then Paulie loses the one thing that he loves. And that's why he's forced to even help Rock.
I love the relationship between Rocky and his son as well. Like starting off and almost his son living in his father's shadow. He walks into the office where his son, into the lobby where his son works, and everyone's like, "Hey, Rock, can I get an autograph?" Blah blah blah. And he's just there to talk to his kid, but he's a nice guy, so he's signing away and whatever.
This
book
is very good with people.
Yeah, and his son is I don't think jealous is the right word, but he's sick of living in his father's shadow. And it's so interesting that you have this double character arc, because it's his son reconciling what's more important, my last name being Balboa and me being recognized as Rocky's son, or the fact that I love my dad and that I want to have a relationship with him. And that balance out. I also love little Marie coming back
absolutely,
and her kid. It's so good, and it's such a great way to put a little bit of great female energy. Wow, how am I having that much trouble saying that word? Into the film without kind of ruining, a 5-film arc of this amazing love story. So you have Marie and just Rocky being a good man, and then even with
even Duke comes back.
Yeah, Duke is great
and
again.
He even tells
film.
him, he's just like, you're not going to beat him with speed. You're too slow.
So we need
to get you. We need to make you powerful. Like, we need to you got to when you land a hit, it's got to hurt.
Yeah,
we need good old bone rattling hits.
Yeah,
but I think the one line out of Balboa that sticks with the whole theme of the whole movie is what he says to his son. It's like, life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's gonna beat you till your knees.
Yeah, that's such a great moment.
It's not about how hard you hit. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep going.
Yeah,
that's how winning is done.
I'm getting fucking goosebumps, man.
I love that line.
Yeah.
It's so good, and a great thing as well is that both Adrian and Rocky's son is everything that Rocky is not.
Yes,
and
it's everything he ever wanted out of his son.
Yes.
And his son doesn't see that at the beginning of the film. And at the end of the film, he sees,
even the one argument he gets with his son, he's not mad at his son for choosing the life
he's
that he did.
He's not mad at him at all.
He's the only time he is mad at him, though, is for the sheer fact that he's like, I fucking raised you to just...
To be better than me.
better than... Not even... Yeah.
He's being belittled by his boss, and then his boss goes
just
at him.
Just to be a strong person, to not let anyone ever knock you down. And look at you. You got this guy who fucking belittles you and then sees me and then comes right over and then decides to take a picture. Fuck that, dude. Yeah. And then the next scene, of course, his son, quits his job. Yeah. I also love that Rocky hides that chair in the branch of at Adrian's gravestone that he takes down.
He takes down every time to sit there and talk to her.
Yeah, that's very. He's just so fucking real.
Yeah,
he's such a real dude.
Antonio Tarver, the boxer in this film, plays Mason Dixon. I'm surprised at how fucking good this guy is.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, this guy hasn't... He's not an actor. He's a boxer. He's a high-level boxer. And, he's almost put in this real comical world, in all seriousness. Like, just this... super elevated version of Tommy Gunn, in all seriousness, where he's just like spoiled and whatnot, but yet what you see, like his motivation is very similar to Apollo in number 2.
That's
and that's what makes it so. Yeah, exactly. So you as much as you're like, man, this guy's an asshole on some at some points in the film, you do totally feel for him, because it's like, this guy,
he drives up to the gym late at night to wake up his old boxy trainer who's sleeping in the fucking gym like Paulie was. Yeah. Just to be like, how come everybody hates me? And they hate you because you have no compassion and there's no grace in what you do.
Yeah.
And he gets his old manager back just to teach him that grace and that class.
It's despite he has all the talent in the world, and in all seriousness, he is a very real human. But the way that he's perceived is the way that you perceive him in the early stages of the film. And it's so cool to see that transformation happens along with Rocky's. There's so many great character arcs in this film. And then obviously the exchange at the end where they hug and like, you're a great fighter and all that shit. Like,
because like you see this fighter,
yeah,
he's got his entourage living in excess, and he leaves.
Yeah,
he leaves a party that he's throwing, sits in his car, and turns the radio on and listens to sports radio and to hear what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
and then finally realizes, and then goes and talks to his former mentor. It's like
and you know, to go back to the end of the fight, just you get that fulfillment of you finally get, for the first time, you get Mason Dixon wearing his heart on his sleeve, you know,
and showing like a fighter's respect, and like both of them standing tall in the ring as though nobody won, nobody lost. It's like they both prove something to themselves.
It's beautiful.
It is a beautifully written movie. Very underrated, in my opinion.
Well, it's the second highest rated on IMDb. Where are we on Rotten Tomatoes? It is at 76%, so it's also the second highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes. Monetarily speaking, it was made for $24 million, grossed 155, a little more than 155 million worldwide, and it was made for, you know, like I said, 24. So it's technically the second lowest grossing film at the box office. Now, obviously, DVD sales, VOD, etc.
Well, I remember when this came out. Like, I went to go see this on my 16th birthday.
Yeah.
And
well, you're Italian.
I didn't really take it. Oh, thanks. I didn't really take it seriously. I'm like, oh, it's another Rocky movie, like another money grab.
Yeah.
Like, at first I watch it, I'm like, you give it the first watch, you're just like got that mentality. The background's like, just
oh no,
Rocky.
Man, I was in like at 2 minutes into this movie.
A couple of years later, I watch it. I just sit down by myself, not a whole theater full of people. I'm watching on my own, and it's like you get a real sense of appreciation because this was more heart and story than 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I saw Rocky Balboa, I saw it at the Eglinton Town Center in Scarborough, and I went with my brother's, like, he's kind of like to go all Italian. He's kind of like my family's counsel. Yeah, this guy Khalid.
Yeah,
anyway, he's from Lebanon.
Yeah.
And so I went with him to go see this movie, and I almost left crying in the theater just because, like, fuck, I was having issues with my dad at this point.
Did you sit on your junk or something?
Close. No, I was you know, you're going through some shit. I was having issues with my dad at this point, so here's Rocky trying to fucking go after his son, and I'm just trying to fucking relate to my dad, and then all this shit, and it's just very... And not to mention Adrian's dead, so all this guy has in his life is literally the bare bone things that he has in front of him, which is a restaurant named Adrian's, his old stories, and his son, who really, at the beginning of the movie, wants nothing to do with him. Which is why, like, at the end of the movie, he's walking, they're saying the scores, and he doesn't even give a fuck. He's already halfway out the door when they're like, you know, it's a split decision, and by third decision, you know, Dixon... You know, and he didn't even care. He says it even like in the last hit that he does when he's getting up. It's all about, you know, just fucking coping with life and like those tiny things and being with his son. And that's why he can walk out the door just like in the original Rocky.
Yeah.
And it's two people that have fixed their relationship and are moving on to something greater.
Yeah.
So let's see if Creed can really capture that.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't even want to talk about Creed anymore. I think that was a beautiful way to wrap it up, Easton. I'm more than happy to leave it there, sir. Right. You know, let me get into this. Now, remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. We want to continue it on with you. So please visit our website, yell at us there, send us a message on Twitter. I'm at NotBrandonFleet. Devon?
At YR_homeboy, your homeboy.
East?
At Ant East.
I do not have Twitter, but you can follow me on Instagram at NROMITA 1124.
Right on. So NRomita 1124. Cool. On Instagram. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, or your choice podcatcher. If you're listening to us on the podcast, you can find us on YouTube. There's all kinds of cool content there, and also you can get teasers on what's coming up, what the next episode is. We usually always release a little bit of content a week before, and we really do want to continue on this conversation. Particularly, you can tell that we're all very passionate about this series. and we're all going out to see Creed because we're all
absolutely
super excited for this fucking movie. So I'd love to talk to you guys about Creed. For this episode, I believe we're using hashtag Mermal Rocky, if I'm not mistaken, MRML Rocky. Or you can just hashtag Mermal. We'll find you, or you can reach out to any one of us individually. I think that pretty much wraps it up. This has been really almost an emotional episode for me. And thank you guys so much for being on this one. This was great. So thank you guys for hanging out, and thanks for hanging out with us.